Well, hello, Wileys. I wanted to give you a very quick rundown of how you can use this spreadsheet that I created and that I use every day to track my word count and make overseeing my novel production that much easier. So I'm just going to show you what I've done here. What this is, there's a column here at the left for scene. I've got them all pre-numbered. Eventually these will turn into chapters because I sort of write or I think in terms of scenes before I think in terms of chapters, but then at a certain point I start clumping them together into chapters. So it says scene, you can change it to chapter. I don't pay attention to that really. I just start, recounting because I know when I've switched over to chapters. Now, when I start writing, let's say I'm writing on the prelude, and maybe you don't write immediately on the very first thing. Maybe you start on chapter 5, for example, and that's okay. Just input it there. If you're not sure where it's going to fall, you can just sort of generally stick it in approximately if it's 2/3 of the way in or if it's near the end. Just stick it in. These are very, very easy to move around. So that's one of the benefits of using a system like this. So what I'll do is I'll write in this column the general, just a couple of words to remind me what's happening in this scene or chapter. I find this very useful when I'm thinking about I have to go back and change something. Which chapter was that in, or which file was that in, or which scene was that in? I can go back to this and I can find it quickly and it saves me time. It's very efficient. I don't have to go poking through the text of all my files or my manuscript to find it. In this column, I put the word count, and this will grow based on, how much you put in there. Maybe I did 1,000 words one day, and then the next day I did 1,767. I add those together and I increase this number here to represent what I did. And this column adds up here at the bottom automatically. So this number down here, don't have to touch it. This number is the total number of words that I have already done in this column. And for me, when I get to chapter level, typically 30 chapters is a good estimate for how many I'm going to have in a novel. It may be more, it may be less, it doesn't matter. We've got the space for the more here if we want it. Scenes, obviously, are going to be more than 30. And you can add more rows in here if you want or whatever. And this number, as long as you put those rows above this number will automatically adjust to account for those rows as well. Now this side, this number here, this what's 0 right now, will also increase, but it's only counting this column. So these two numbers added together is what's going to make your new total. Now what I do is I will put the number in here of what I wrote on a particular scene or chapter that day, the total, add up the total, cumulative. This automatically calculates the sum of these two, this 15,160, what is now 15,160, and this column, and puts it here. So that is my grand total word count up to the date that I'm doing this. Now the next day, when I go in to write, what I do is I take what was the new title and I copy it into old title. So in this case, if I'm sitting down right now to write again, I'll go in here first, I'll open this up, I'll go in here first, and I will switch this to 15160. That resets my balance to 0. And in that way, what I can do is I can track exactly how many words I did that day. Because not all my words will have been in one particular scene or one particular chapter. Now, let's say, for example, yesterday I did 1,002, or yesterday my new total was 1,250. I haven't updated it yet. So that means that yesterday I did 1,910 words, which is pretty darn good for me. And I've also got a calculation in here for percent done. Now, if you look up here at the calculation, this is based on a word count goal, a total word count goal of 60,000 words. If that is not your word count goal for your entire novel, you can change that. Just change that part of the number, this 80,000, just change that. Don't change anything else. Let's say you're going for a 120,000 word fantasy novel. All right, put 120,000 in there, hit enter, and it's going to calculate the percentage down here of how much you've already accomplished. Okay? Now, over here, what I have put in is a place where you can write a date and the date that you worked, how many minutes you worked, how many words you accomplished, and you'll get this number from here, right? So let's say today. So today is 5/30/21. I just put in the date like that. Number of minutes I worked, let's say I worked 45 minutes. That's not realistic. All right, let's not put 45 minutes. Let's say I worked 240. I worked 3 hours. 240 minutes. And my word count today was 1910. So then I put that in, 1910. What happens in this column, you'll see the calculation up here in the previous day's work is 625 total words per hour. Now, this one has not calculated yet. What you want to do is you want to just Control-C, copy that, Control-V, put it in there. Now, when you Control-C something that has a calculation in it, it's going to copy the calculation, not the number. So as you can see here, it actually calculated based on the line that it's in. It's very smart. Excel is very smart that way. It knows that if you paste something in there, like this calculation says, add up or, calculate row 2. This one, when I pasted it, automatically knows that it is now calculating based on row 3. So all you got to do is Control-C, put it in the new, once it's got the ants crawling around it, put it in the new line, and then Control-V. So, based on this imaginary scenario, my words per hour for that day are 477.5. Not great. I must have been very distracted that day. Now, down here at the bottom, it gives you some totals. So this one totals this row, the number of minutes spent working. So far on this novel, well, at least on the 2 days that I've tracked, my total number of minutes is 360. My total number of words is 3,160. That's just what I've been calculating here in these 2 days. And my overall average per hour word count is 522 and a lot of little numbers after that. 526.666666. So this just gives you a little information about how you're doing that shows you, it reveals to you the progress that you're making, which is sometimes really hard to see. And it's very important that you know that you are making progress. And not to kick yourself if it feels like you're not. Because even 526 words per hour is progress, right? Okay, Wily's, feel free to contact me on WilyWriters.net @Angel if you have any questions about this or want to make changes to it that you don't know how to make. I'm very happy to help you. So it's hopefully going to be very helpful to you. I hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon.